Disclaimer: this is an imaginary story. Please don't relate it with any idol or any other person. It's nothing related to anyone's life. It's pure work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. It's a Notice 7 story. If you are soloist and can't see other members, then this story isn't for you. You are on wrong channel. Watch the story carefully, then comment. Be respectful and don't embarrass yourself. Whatever pics are shown in this story, they all have been taken from Google and Pinterest. The credit for them goes to their real owner. Storyline and voice are mine, so please don't copy that. Laws are created to protect us. Rights are given to ensure equality. But what happens when the very rules meant to protect someone are used as weapon? What happens when the right meant for justice and equality destroys the life of an innocent person? Can that person ever stand up again after losing everything? Can that person rebuild a life that has already been shattered? Can that person ever trust again after being betrayed? After everything is lost, isn't justice delayed the same as justice denied? After a long wait, June is finally allowed to meet his elder brother, Yoongi. He was brought into a room by the guards, which was separated by a thick glass wall. Old telephones hung on the both sides, and a narrow metal slot at the bottom allowed document to pass through. Guards gave him only 10 minutes to meet and leave by closing the door. June sat down slowly. A moment later, another door opened and Yoongi entered. His hands were handcuffed. He was looking down. The sight of his hand made June's chest tighten. The once confident man now looked thinner, quieter, and older than his age. Prison life had taken its toll to him. His shoulders carried a weight that June knew it was more than just the prisoner's sentence. Yoongi sat on the other side of the glass and picked up the receiver. June did the same. For a few seconds, neither spoke. June broke the silence and said, June, Hyang, Yoongi, what are you doing here? June, I came here to meet my Hyang. Yoongi, you shouldn't come here, June. Why do you so desperate to ruin your life? June, I don't have much time. I'm reopening your case, Hyang. For that, I need your signature to make a decision on your behalf. Yoongi, finally looking at him. Are you serious? June, confidently. I have never been this serious in my entire life. Yoongi, why do you want to waste your time, money, and energy? June, I'm not wasting my anything. I need my hang. I have already lost my everything. I can't afford to lose my hang too. I will fight till my last breath and the last drop of my blood to prove your innocence. Yoongi, don't be stupid. Think wisely, not emotionally. My life has already ruined. I can never come out of this prison. I already accepted my fate. Don't spoil your life for me. You will get nothing except disappointment. My case is very weak. Don't waste your time here. You are young. It's the time to think about yourself. Go back abroad and settle there. Restart your life there. June, without you, there is no happiness. I won't leave you alone no matter how long it takes. We will fight till the end. We will move on together. We will settle together. Yungi, June, why are you this stubborn? Why aren't you understanding? June, I understood everything, Hang. We showed enough patience. We tried enough. Now it's the time to show our power. This time we will fight together. Your brother is with you. You aren't alone this time. I will be your lawyer. Yungi, shocked. What? June, yes, I have obtained a law degree and have also received my license. I'm a lawyer now. I will reverse court's order. I will prove everyone wrong. Slide the file under the small slot. You just sign on these papers. The rest will handle your brother. Yungi, I won't sign on anything. Not when the evidence is against me. You have already given up your dreams because of me. Now I won't let you ruin your life. Go back and never return here. Push back the file. June, my Hang taught me to fight back. My parents taught me to stand for the family. If you have lost hope, then borrow mine. Slide the single paper again. This is a legal authorization form. I want your signature on it. I'm not requesting, I'm demanding, Hang. The room fell silent. Yungi looked down at the paper. For a long time, his fingers trembled silently. He looked at June, whose eyes were determined, face was confident, and the aura was dominating. He always saw June a little and clumsy boy, but today the man sitting in front of him wasn't his little clumsy brother. He was the full grown up man who refused to move on without him. The guard came there and said, Guard, time's up. June, looking at the guard, just a minute, he's signing the document. It will take only a few seconds. Guard, okay, but only for a few minutes. Yungi looked at June, then at the paper that was in his hand. For the first time in years, there was a faint spark of hope in his tired eyes. He hung up the receiver and signed with the trembled fingers. When Yungi pushed the document back through the slot, something had changed. Yungi picked the documents and gestured through the hands. June, thank you, Hyang. I promise I will soon take you out of this prison. Have faith in your younger brother. I will soon meet you at the court with evidence of your innocence. June left from there. Whatever June said, he didn't hear because he already hung up the receiver, but he knew June was talking about his freedom. The guard was taking him back to his cell. He came here with no hope, like a body without soul, but leaving with a hope to finally come from this prison. That day, in a cold prison visiting room, a younger brother made a promise to fight the world, and a broken man slowly remembered what hope felt like. The battle for truth had just begun. Reopening Yungi's case was easy. Winning it was almost impossible. Stack of files covered June's small desk. Legal books were piled everywhere. Coffee cups set half finished beside them. June rubbed his tired eyes while reading through the case documents again and again. Every page said the same thing. All the evidence, photos, medical reports, witness statement, everything was against Jungi, all proving towards the same conclusion: domestic violence and attempt to murder. June signed heavily but kept reading. A senior lawyer entered. Senior lawyer, June, will you help me to prepare document for my case? Looking at the countless empty coffee cup and June's tired face, what happened? Is everything all right? It seems like you haven't slept for days. June, yeah, I'm fine, sir. Just busy in a case of. Of course, I will help you to prepare the document. Senior lawyer, show me the file. Maybe I can help you. June showed the file to him. Here, sir, have a look. The senior lawyer sat on the chair and flipped through Junki's file. After a moment, he closed it and slid it back to June. Senior lawyer, you are wasting your time. June frowned. Means? Senior lawyer, the evidence is too strong. Tap the file. Photos, injuries, testimony, and the victim's statement. No judge will ignore this. June, but what if the evidence was fabricated? Senior lawyer, then prove it. June, I know my client. He can never do such type of things. He is very respected and with a high value man. Senior lawyer smiled. Sometime the person whom we think innocent turn out the cruelest man. June, he doesn't have a double face. He is exactly the same from inside and outside. Senior lawyer, if you are this confident that your client is innocent and falsely trapped in this case, then bring strong evidence. Until then, the law will favor the victim, and here the victim is a woman. I hope you heard the phrase: a woman is always innocent until proven guilty, and a man is always guilty until proven innocent. He tapped June's shoulder and left. June leaned back on his chair and closed his eyes, cleansing his fingers together. So many thoughts were coming in his mind. He was mad because all the evidence was against Jungi. He knew they were fabricated, but no one would believe him until he proved it in the court with solid evidence. Days turned into weeks. June visited several lawyers. Each one gave the same answer: the case is unwinnable. The law will support the wife. There is no chance. Don't waste your time. He was fed up by hearing the same answers. He knew it would be difficult, but he had no idea that he wouldn't find any clue to solve this mystery. The court's hearing was close, and he still didn't find a single evidence to defend this case. He was sitting in the restaurant, worried, holding a file. The food placed on the table in front of him was slowly getting cold. Suddenly, a man approached and said, "Men, what a strange people! The food is getting cold in front of you, yet you are busy with a file. Can anything really be more important than food? Food is life. Somewhere people are starving because they have nothing to eat, and somewhere people have food but don't value it." June, looking at men through the file. If you are hungry, you can eat the food. Men, really? June, please have a seat and enjoy the meal. Men, sitting down. But I don't have money. June, that's fine. I will pay. You just eat. Men, You are truly a very kind person. The man began eating while June again immersed himself in the file. It was already late at night, and except the two of them, there were no other customers. The man noticed the worry on June's face. His eyes were red as if begging for sleep. Man, by the way, why aren't you eating? June, still looking at the file. I'm not hungry. Men, are there really people in this world who don't feel hungry? Strange. I can't stay hungry even for a day. You seem very troubled. Eat a little. Maybe your worries will become lighter and you might find a solution. June, my problem has nothing to do with food. Men, there is nothing in this world whose solution can't begin with food. And by the way, the food is really delicious. I didn't expect to get such tasty food this late at night. June, still reading the file. My mom always said that whatever is written in someone's fate will eventually reach them. Maybe this food was written in your fate, that's why you met it. Men, your mom sounds like a very wise person. Though it would be perfect if there was something sweet after the meal. June, close the file and called the waiter. Waiter, waiter, yes, sir. June, looking at the men. What do you want to eat? Men, if there is a brownie, that would be perfect. Waiter, sorry, sir, brownies are finished, but we have ice cream. Men, good deed should never be questioned. Of course, ice cream will work. Food should never be refused. Bring two ice creams. Waiter, sure, sir. The waiter left. The man's eyes fell on the photographs inside the file. In one of them, Yungi appeared to be burning his wife's hand. Men, after a glance, what are you doing with these fake photographs? June, immediately looking at him. Fake photographs. Men, calmly eating. This picture where it looks like the man is burning the woman's hand. It's misleading. June, raising an eyebrow. How do you know it's fake? This picture is taken from CCTV footage. How can it be false? Men, the photo is real, but the angle is wrong. Because of that angle, it looks like he is burning her hand, but the truth is, he is trying to save her hand from getting burned. June, how do you know? To me, it clearly looks like he is hurting his wife. And not only me. Whoever saw these photographs said this man is the main culprit. Then how are you so sure that this person isn't wrong? Men, place the empty glass on the photographs. Look carefully at their hands. The way he is holding her hand is protective grip. People use that grip when they are trying to protect someone, not harm them. Second thing, this man is right handed, but he is holding the immersion cord with his left hand. If he really wanted to burn her hand, he would naturally use his right hand. And one more thing you didn't notice, place a chopstick on the photo. Look carefully, the immersion rod is extremely hot, yet he holding it from the heated part. If you zoom this image, you will clearly see that his own hand is getting burned. Anyone who intended to harm other person would never willing hurt themselves. Even a child knows that. June, looking closely at the photo. Oh, yeah, you are right. How did I miss something so obvious? Men. Sometimes the truth is right in front of us, but when we are too stressed, we fail to see it. Waiter arrived with ice cream. Sir, your ice cream? Men. Oh, great. Thank you so much. I really like the food of your restaurant. Could you bring me some more of the same? Waiter. Sure, sir. Left. Men looking at June. Your eyes are red. Your mind is exhausted. When you force yourself to focus too much, you stop seeing clearly. It looks like you haven't slept properly for several nights and you haven't eaten properly either. Your body needs rest and energy to function well. Waiter, your food, sir. Men, thank you. Waiter left. Eat your food and go home. Get some proper sleep. When you wake up fresh, you might finally find a solution. June, maybe you are right. Men, if you don't mind, may I take a look at this file? June, handing it over. Sure. Men, opening the file. So it's a case file. June, while eating. Yes, I'm a lawyer. I'm collecting evidence for this case. Men, domestic violence and attempt to murder. Interesting. This is a reopening case. The court is already given its verdict, and this man is serving his sentence. That makes the case much weaker. June, that much I already know. Tell me something I don't know. Men, alright, then listen carefully. This is a fake domestic violence case. It was filed to take this man's property. The evidence and witness presented in court are technically real, but they were present from the wrong perspective. Because of that, the man appears guilty even though he is innocent. June choked on his food. It is shock. He couldn't understand how the court missed it, how he himself missed it. Yet this stranger saw it in just one glance. June, how do you know it's a fake case? I have been struggling with this case for days. I have been telling everyone that this man is innocent, but no one believes me. And you just look at this file once and immediately said it's fake. How? Men, because I'm a private detective, finding things others can't see. That's my job. Hello, I'm Kim Shokjin, private detective. June, hello, I'm Advocate Namjoon. If you are a private detective, what are you doing here and at this hour? Jin, I came here for a case, but someone stolen my luggage. I filed a complaint with the police. Now I'm just waiting for it to be found. My wallet, phone, clothes, everything was in that bag. Now I don't even have a place to stay. Thank you so much for the food. Stood up to leave. June, where will you go this late at night? My house is nearby. If you want, you can stay there until you get your belongings back. Jin, looking at him. And what about your family? June, I live alone. By the way, will you help me with this case? Jin, I normally don't work on two cases at once, but since you fed me, I will help you. On one condition, You must keep feeding me. John finally smiled a little. You can eat as much as you want. Along with food, I will pay you your professional fees as well. Jin, then it's settled. Let's go to your house and discuss the case. June, sure. June brought to Jin his home. It wasn't big, it was a small house. June gave his clothes to Jin. After freshen up, they both came to the room that June made his study room. June was already there. Jin came there after few minutes. He noticed June's photo frame with Yunki, the person whose photograph was in the case file. When he entered the study, he found a big soft board which had lots of photos, newspapers, cutting articles. He impressed to see June's effort. Jin, impressive. You already had a research? June went to him. I tried. Jin, well, when I was coming here, I saw your and pointing his finger on Junki's photo. This man's photo frame. It doesn't look like he is only a client for you, is he? June, no, he is my Hang Min Junki. Jin, looking at him. So, you're fighting for him? June, Come, have a seat. Jin, sit on the chair. Tell me about him and this case. June took a deep breath and looked at Yungi's photograph pinned in the middle of the softboard. Min Corporation was our company. It used to be among the top 10 companies in our country. Hyang was its CEO. He fell in love with a new employee, Choi Shorin, and soon they got married. We were all very happy for him. Hyang was a strict CEO. He believed strongly in discipline and never tolerated carelessness. Sometimes he even scolded Shorin for mistakes at work and made her stay for overtime. He always treated everyone equally and never gave Shorin any special advantage just because she was his wife. Hyang was an introvert. Because of that, people often thought he was cold and cruel, but that wasn't the truth. He cared deeply for Shorin. Whenever she had to stay for overtime, he stayed with her too. At home, he even helped her with household chores. Yes, he scolded her sometimes, but only when she made a mistake. Within a year of their marriage, they were blessed with twin boys. We were all on cloud nine. 1 year later, unexpectedly, they were expecting their third child. That was when everything started going wrong. Suddenly, confidential information from our company began leaking. Company funds started disappearing. Hyang and Shorin began having frequent arguments, but we never imagined things would turn out like this. One day, Hyang was in an important meeting with investors when the police arrived and arrested him on the charges of domestic violence and attempt to murder. Hyang was completely shocked when my parents reached the police station. They discovered that Shorin herself had filed complaint against him. At that time, she was 6 months pregnant and she had bruises on her body. Hyang didn't even get a chance to explain himself. The news spread like wildfire. Our company's share crashed. We faced several backlashes. Even before the court could give its verdict, people had already declared Hyang guilty. The negative publicity, the humiliation, it was like mental torture. No one was willing to listen the truth. Even our close relatives, friends, and business partners distanced themselves from us. Everyone left us alone. My parents couldn't bear the shame and pressure, and they passed away. A tear slipped down his eyes. Jin heard everything calmly. Where were you? June. I was in abroad studying for management. I had exams at that time. Nobody informed until I got the news of my parents' sudden death. By the time I returned, everything had fallen apart. My parents were gone, my brother was in prison, and my nephews were in police protection along with their mom. Jin. So it was more than just a case. June. I have lost everything I once had. I won't find peace until I give my Hank his life back. I don't want just justice, I want my Hank back. I want to return his lost confidence, his reputation that was destroyed because of this fake case, and his children whom he hasn't even able to meet. Jin placed her hand on June's shoulder. You aren't alone in this. I'm with you. I will do everything I can to help your Hyang get back everything he lost because of this fake case. June looked at Jin. Thank you. Time skipped after few months. Several months had passed. Jin and June worked tirelessly and finally managed to gather all the evidence against Shorin. In truth, Shorin had never loved Yunki. All she ever wanted was his property. She had tried many times to convince Yunki to transfer his property to her name, but Yunki never agreed. Even the decision to have children was part of her plan. She believed that if they later divorced, Yungi's entire property would legally go to the children, which she could then control. But Yungi was far too kind and honorable. Despite all her efforts, Shorin was never able to find any solid proof to frame him. Yungi and his family were genuinely good people, which made her plan even more difficult. Shorin accidentally became pregnant again. She didn't want the child and tried several times to terminate the pregnancy secretly. However, every time Yungi somehow found out and stopped her, he scolded her for being careless and irresponsible. Unfortunately, the neighbors only ever saw Yungi scolding her, never noticed, knew the real reason behind his anger. One day, while talking to a neighbor, Shorin realized that Yungi's image in society was slowly turning negative. That was when she contacted her best friend, who was her ex lover. Together, they created a situation that made Yungi appear abusive and cruel. Since Shorin was pregnant, the authorities didn't conduct a strict medical examination or detailed investigation. She was treated as a vulnerable victim, and no one questioned her statement deeply. Jungi didn't even get a chance to properly defend himself. With all the evidence appearing to be against him, the court decided him guilty, but June refused to give up. After reopening the case, he presented every hidden truth and every piece of real evidence before the court. This time, Shorin's lies were finally exposed. She and her lover were found guilty and sentenced accordingly. Jungi was declared innocent and released from prison. The court also granted him custody of his children. Today, after so many painful years, Yoongi finally returned home with June. For the first time in years, he was about to see his children again, who had now grown much older. June, welcome home, Hyang. This is our new home. I know it's small, not like our mansion. Yoongi, I snatched the shed off your head. June, at least you made a home. June placed his hand on Yoongi's shoulder. It was never your fault, Hyang. Let's not dig up old stuff and live in the present. Now you came home. We will rebuild our home and our company as well. But first, let's meet a few special people. We are at home. You can come out. As soon as June called, two little boys jumped out from behind the couch. They were none other than Junki's twin sons, Titi and Cookie, whom he saw when they were only 1 year old. Tea Cook, surprise! Welcome home! Junki, looking at them, then June, they are June, your sons, Titi and Cookie. Junki, unable to speak, my sons? They used to be so small and always wanted to be in my arms. Whenever I put them down, they started crying. Really? They are my those tiny babies? June held Yoongi's shoulders. Yes, Hyang, they are those little monsters who once tore my books and looking here and there. Mimi? Mimi? Looked at Teacock. Where is she? Teacock shrugged their shoulders. Mimi ran there holding a rose. Mimi, come, time to. June bent down and gently tapped her nose. It's Samchin, not Samchu. And where did you get this rose from? Minnie. Samchu, garden, Minnie, run fast, pretty flowers. June, what? You plucked it from my garden? Mimi, you shouldn't pluck the flower. Shamchin did so much hard work to grow it. Mimi held her ears with her cute tiny baby hands. Mimi sorry. Mimi help Shamchin. Pretty flower grow. Yoongi didn't understand what she was saying. He failed to understand her broken language, but smiled to see her cuteness and sweet melodious voice. He didn't know that she was his daughter because he got arrested when she was in her mom's womb. Teacock went to June and asked. Tea tapped John's shoulders. Big body, who is she? Cookie. Yes, Cookie never saw him before. Is he Big Body's friend? Yoongi hurt. You don't know who I am? Yoongi's heart broke into millions of pieces to know that his sons didn't recognize him. After years of separation, he met his sons, but they didn't know him. June. Titi, Cookie, he is my Hyang and your dada. T. Dada? But Mama said Titi doesn't have dada. Cookie. And whenever Cookie asked Mama about dada, Mama became so mad and said, don't disturb Mama, Mama is so busy. June. It's okay. Forget what your mama said. Now listen to Shamchan. Now you all are going to stay with us. It's your new home. And this man is your dada. Now meet him. Mimi tucked Yoongi's pants and whose eyes filled heartbreak. Dada! Showed him the rose.
Mimi, come, Dada home. Sweet home.
June smiled. Hyang, she is welcoming you home. Yungi took the rose with trembling hand. Thank you. Mimi hugged his leg.
Come, Dada.
Teacock hugged his legs too.
Dada.
Yungi stayed still. He didn't gather the courage to touch his children. He was scared. June noticed his hesitation and sent Teacock and Mimi from there. Once they left, he held Yungi's shoulder and asked, June, Hyang, what happened? Yungi looked at June with hurtful eyes. What type of justice is this, June? What will I do with this justice when I have already lost my everything? My children don't even recognize me. June, Hyang, you can't lose hope like this. The kids were very young when all this happened. They don't remember anything about you, and accepting Shorin to tell them the truth about you is pointless. She only cared about your money. But things are different now. You are finally free. All the accusations against you have been proven false. The kids will slowly accept you, but you have to give them some time. The wounds of so many years can't heal overnight. Please give yourself some time too. Chunki, how much time, June? Is this what they call justice? I lost my children's entire childhood. I couldn't see them grow up. I couldn't send them to school for the first time. I didn't even know that I had a daughter. At least I spent a little time with Tigo, but Mimi, I don't have a single memory with her. I missed her first heartbeat, her first cry, her first step, her first word. I missed everything. What kind of justice is this? Is the name of justice everything I had was taken away from me? We even lost our parents, June. June, Hyang, what happened can't be changed. Yes, justice comes late, but not so late that broken things can't be put back together. Cook and Mimi are still very young. You can still create countless memories with them. So, what if you missed Mimi's first moments? You can still give her a beautiful life and a happy childhood. It's never too late to restart again. And even though our parents aren't here with us anymore, their blessings are still with us. Wherever they are, they must be feeling happy today, seeing you finally free. Please don't lose hope. There is still so much to do, especially for the kids. We have always been my inspiration. Young, you can't break like this. I have carried things alone for a long time. Now it's your time to take responsibility as the elder brother. Let me finally take some rest. Kyunki I don't think I can do it. I'm not capable of carrying any responsibility anymore. I'm scared. What if I ruin their future too? June, that won't happen. My Hang, the man who always taught me to fight and move forward, is not talking about running away from responsibility. Where did that strong hand go who taught me how to face life? If you can't do it, then who can? You are the eldest of this house. You must take responsibility, and you aren't alone. I'm with you. Your children are with you too. Mimi ran to them.
Tamchu, Tamchu, Dada, Mimmy, Tummy, Talkie, Talkie.
Yungi quickly wiped his tears and looked at her. Then June. What did she say? June. She's saying she's hungry. Yungi. Oh, then what are you waiting for? Arrange some food. The kids must be hungry too. Don't tell me you still haven't known how to cook. June awkwardly scratched the back of his neck. I really don't know. I really tried. The kitchen almost caught fire. After that, I permanently gave up cooking. Mimi looked at June with innocent eyes.
Tamchu, no food, Mimmy. Mimmy, Tummy, Talkie, Talkie.
Yungi smiled softly and picked her up in his arms. Leave Samchu. Dada will cook super tasty food for Mimi. Mimi.
Dada, tasty food, Titi, cookie.
June, she is asking if you won't cook for Titi and Cookie too. Yungi, of course I will. I will cook for Mimi, Titi, Cookie and Samchu too. Mimi.
Dada.
June gently ruffled her hair. Yeah, and for Dada too. After ages, I will finally eat food cooked by my hand. I'm already feeling hungry. With Dad, for the first time, he went to prepare food for his children. The first step towards his normal life. Time skipped after a few days. A few days passed like this. Yungi was slowly trying to get back to his normal life. June took Yungi for a psychiatrist. Kids asked about their mom, but June handled them cleverly. Yungi was trying to adjust with them and to know about their liking and disliking. Titi and Cookie were so naughty and troublemaker, whereas their totally opposite Mimi was a caring and sensitive girl. Right now, Yungi was having arguments with June and Doctor over women. Yungi, I don't want to hear the name of any woman. I hate women. In this world, if there is anything truly poisons, it's women. They are selfish for their own benefit and money. They can cross any limits. They don't care about anyone except themselves. They show innocent faces, cry in front of people, and the whole world starts believing them. Society, the law, everyone stands with them. But what about men? Are we not human? Just because we don't cry in public doesn't mean we don't feel pain. Our hearts break too. We feel anger. We feel helplessness. But what can we do? The law has already tied our hands. Even if a man is innocent, he is punished, and the wealth he earns with years of hard work is handed over to a lying woman who never worked a single day for it. The law of this country has become blind. It only sees women. Everyone talk about justice for women, but the truth is today justice needed for men. I don't trust any woman anymore. I don't even want to see their faces. June, Hyang, please listen to me. Yungi, looking straight into June's eyes. I have lived through that pain. I spent years of my life in prison for a crime I never committed. I stayed away from my children. Our parents lost their lives because of a single false accusation. You had to give up your dreams. I lost my home, my company collapsed, my entire life was destroyed, and after losing everything, if you still accept me to trust women again, then you are mistaken. If it were up to me, I would take away every privilege given to them. Maybe the people in the past were right. Maybe women should never have given so much power, because when power reaches the wrong hands, destroys lives. Once I believed that women were the ones suffering in society, but after everything I have gone through, I don't know what to believe anymore. Clenched his fist. If freedom means destroying innocent lives, then that kind of freedom should never exist. Walked away angrily. June whispers helplessly, "Th- th- This isn't my Hyang. What happened to him?" Dr. Hobie, placing a hand on June's shoulder. The pain he has suffered is too deep. The wounds are still fresh. Right now, he doesn't even realize what he's saying. Give him some time. His mind is not stable yet. I will try to help him in my own way. Trust me. While the two of them were talking about Yoongi and wondering how his behavior had become so bitter, they didn't realize that Mimi was standing nearby and she had heard everything. The hospital corridors were covered with patients, nurses, and worried families waiting outside different wards. Yoongi walked beside Dr. Hobie silently, his expression still cold and distant. Hobie brought Yoongi with himself to show him the reality. Yoongi, why did you bring me here? Hobie, because some truth can't be explained with words, they have to be seen. They stopped near a bench where a young woman was sitting quietly. Her arms were covered with burn marks. Hobie, pointing gently, she is just 23. 5 years ago, she got married. Her husband lost his temper during an argument and threw boiling soup at her. This wasn't the first time he had abused her since the day of their wedding, but she kept silent for months, hoping things would change. Yoongi's eyes lingered on the bandage, but he didn't say anything. They walked further. Inside another room, a middle aged woman lay on the hospital bed. Her face was swollen and bruised. Hobie, her husband, beats her almost every week. Yesterday, he broke her ribs when neighbors finally called the police. She still begged them not to arrest him because she was afraid of how her children would survive without him. Yoongi slowly clenched his fist. They moved ahead to another ward. A young mother sat in a chair holding a few weeks' child in her arms. Hobie, that woman was thrown out of her house after giving birth to a daughter. Her husband and in laws said a girl was a burden. Now she has nowhere to go. They walked into another section of the ward. Inside, a woman with several bruises on her faces was speaking with a police officer. Hobie, that woman is fighting for alimony and children custody. Her husband abandoned them after 10 years of marriage. She left her career to raise their child, but after the divorce, she had no financial support. Her parents refused to accept her and her children. Without alimony laws, women like her would be left helpless. Alimony laws help them to provide financial help. Not everyone is lucky enough to get parental support. Some are like this woman who doesn't have any place to go. If she had been alone, she might have died. But with her, here her two children who are completely depend on her. Yungi's eyes softened to see her and her small children who didn't know why they were here in the counseling room. They moved forward to another room. There, a girl in her 20s laying on the bed lifelessly. Machines were attached to her body. Her mom was sitting outside on the bench completely shattered, and dad was talking to police. Yunki, what happened to her? Hobie paused before answering him. A survivor. She showed the courage and complained against some students of her college who harassed some girls. And the result of her courage, she is here with multiple of fractures and injuries, waiting for death because life is too cruel for her to live, and death is far better than living like this. Shunki's heart shattered to see her laying on the bed between the machines and wires, her parents' helpless state just killing him from inside. Hobie turned to him and said, Hobie, this is how the real case looks. You want to disappear the shield of laws from women. You want to snatch away their rights. You hated their laws because they snatched your everything from you. But can you see Mimi here in the future? Can you imagine yourself here struggling to fight for the justice? Without any law, how would you protect your daughter? Looked at Yunki, who was looking at him with terrified eyes. What happened? You aren't able to imagine yourself in place of that helpless father? Or you're thinking that nothing like this would ever happen with your daughter? These problems won't disappear if the law disappear. The law can only protect victim and give them justice, but it can't change people's mindset unless people themselves want to change. Today here is someone else's daughter. Tomorrow your daughter could be here too. Nothing is in this world permanent. Yunki's body turned pale. The law you hated so much weren't created overnight. For generations, women suffered in silence, domestic violence, harassment, assault. Society ignored their pain for years. Then victims started speaking up. People protested. Activities fought long legal battles. Only after decades of struggle were these laws created to protect them. But every law has a weakness. Sometimes people misuse it, and when someone misuses the law, it doesn't just harm the innocent person they accuse, it also damages the trust people have in real victims who truly need protection. Whatever happened to you was wrong, there is no doubt about that. But that doesn't mean every woman in this world is wrong or heartless. You can't paint everyone with the same brush. Not all fingers are the same. Just like not every man is innocent like you, some are cruel and abusive in the same way. Not every woman is greedy and deceitful, like the one who betrayed you and framed you in a false case. Some women are innocent, some are victims, just like the ones you saw today. Yes, crimes against men are increasing in some cases, and those should never be ignored. But that doesn't mean crimes against women have disappeared. Even today, many women still need these laws for protection. Crime has nothing to do with gender. A criminal is simply a criminal, always waiting for an opportunity, whether that person is man or woman, and a victim is simply a victim. Pain doesn't choose gender. That's why criminals should never be judged by gender, and victims shouldn't never be ignored because of it. The people who misuse these laws don't realize the price that was paid for them. These rights were earned after years of struggles, sufferings, and countless protests. But if this misuse continues, the day isn't far when society might have started questioning these very rights, and innocent women may once again struggle to receive justice. I know the conflict you are going through right now. The betrayal you faced has left deep wounds, but you can't punish everyone for the crime of one person. Give yourself some time, Yungi. Your pain deserves healings, not hatred. Yungi returned home, but Hobie's words still echoing in his mind. He heard the noise and entered living room and found Mimi was sitting on the couch hugging the football. Tico was looking so mad and arguing with her, and June was trying to talk with them. Cooking.
Mimi, Cookie is warning you. Return our ball. Mimi has Mimi's dolls. Mimi should play with them.
Mimi.
No,
June. Calm down, kids. Tell me what happened. Why are you fighting? T.
Big Body, Titi and Cookie were playing with the ball in the garden, but Mimi came there and brought the ball here.
June. You both shouldn't have left her alone. She is your younger sister. You should play with her too. Cookie.
We offered Mimi to play with us, but she brought the ball here and didn't want to give us back.
June. Okay, I will talk to Minnie. Mimi, what happened, princess? Why aren't you giving Titi and Cookie their ball? Shamchu is free now. Shamchu will play with princess. Now return the ball to them. Mimi, hug the ball more tightly.
No, Tamchu, these bad boys hurt poor ball. Bad boys kick ball, poor ball cry. Mimi strong, Mimi protect poor ball. Mimi no give poor ball bad boys.
T.
Look, Big Body, how stubborn Mimi is. Titi and Cookie are trying to make her understand that ball doesn't hurt. Football is made for kicking, but Mimi doesn't ready to understand.
Mimi.
Mimi no go, poor ball, bad boys.
Chungi smiled to see her innocence. The way she was fighting alone with Teacock and arguing with June made her so strong, at the same time sensitive. June saw Yungi and said, June, thank God, Hang, you have come. Look how your kids fighting over small things. They aren't listening to me, complaining to him. Cookie.
Dada, Titi and Cookie listen to Big Body, but Mimi isn't listen to us.
Yungi. Okay, stop fighting. Went to Mimi and bent to his level near the couch, and she quickly covered her face with her tiny baby hands. What's this? Is Mimi angry with Dada? Mimi.
Mimi no angry Dada. Dada say Dada hate girl. Dada no see girl. Mimi girl. Dada hate Mimi. Mimi no see face Dada. Dada no angry. Dada happy.
June. Hang. She's saying. Yungi. I understood, June. You don't need to translate. Gently removed Mimi's hands from her face. Dada wasn't talking about Mimi. Dada loves Mimi so much. Dada can't survive without looking Mimi's prettiest face. And now Dada understood that Dada was wrong. Now Dada won't say anything like this again. Mimi doesn't need to hide her face. Mimi.
Really?
Yungi, really? Now give Dada Mimi's a special huggy huggy. He spread his arms and Mimi hugged him tightly. Mimi,
Mimi love Dada.
tea dramatically.
Cookie, nobody loves Titi and Cookie.
Cookie,
Yes, Titi, you are right.
Yungi looked at their jealous faces. Come here, my little burned beans. Dada loves you three equally. Mimi,
Mimi love bad boys. Mimi again bad boys. Mimi no go ball.
hid the ball behind herself. Everyone burst into laughter, hearing Mimi's innocent words. Titi and Cookie excitedly jumped on the couch. Yungi laughed warmly and pulled all three children into a tight hug. For the first time in years, his laughter felt light and genuine. June stood a few steps away quietly, watching them. A soft smile appeared on his face as he saw his Hang's pure, carefree smile after so many years. Seeing Yungi finally happy with his children, June's eyes slowly filled with tears of relief and joy. Dear girls, the laws made for our protection are our strength, not our weapons. If we misuse them, there may come a day when people stop believing us, even when we are truly in pain and need them. Justice should never belong to one gender. Justice must stand with the victim. If we stay silent when the law is misused, we weaken the very shield meant to protect us. The rights given to us are precious, but remember, rights also carry responsibility. Because if we fail to protect the truth today, tomorrow those very protections may disappear. So stand for justice, stand for truth before it's too late. Justice must always be careful because one false accusation can destroy many innocent lives. Laws created for safety must never become tools for manipulation or personal revenge. A single lie can destroy families, reputations, and years of someone's life. At the same time, real victims deserve protection, compassion, and a voice that is heard. True fairness comes when society seeks truth before judgment. In the end, healing begins when pain turns into understanding and hope. The end. Author's note. That's it for today. I hope you all liked it. I have made brotherly stories many times before, but this time for Yungi's birthday special story, I wanted to create something different yet powerful. Nowadays, some girls misuse laws that were created for their protection, using them as a weapon to manipulate and ruin innocent men's lives. Being a girl myself, I believe it's our responsibility not to support such behavior and to stand with the victim regardless of gender. Remember, history repeats itself. We can't afford to lose our freedom, our rights, and our voice. If you don't understand its seriousness, be ready to witness the sufferings of future generations. I hope you all enjoyed it. We will meet soon with new story. Till then, take care of yourself. Love you all. If you like this story, then please do like, subscribe, share, and comment. I assure you that you will never gonna regret on your decision. Thanks for watching.